Good evening and welcome to the March 27th, 2025 meeting of the Indian River County Planning and Zoning Commission. We will call this meeting to order and begin with the pledge, please. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No, sir.
Would you like to introduce our newest board member, Mr. Lawther?
Sure, I didn't want to steal your thunder, but welcome to the board,
Yeah.
Mr. Lawther. We appreciate your service, and we look forward to a long tenure.
Thank you. Look forward to that as well.
Perfect. Our first order of business tonight is the election of a vice chair. Do I hear motions for the election of a vice chair?
Yes, sir, I'd like to make a motion. Thinking outside the box, Commissioner Lowther, as a former county commissioner, I feel is very knowledgeable of what we face on a constant basis, and I'd like to nominate Tommy Lowther.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Welcome.
No discussion?
Welcome aboard.
No discussion, sir.
As long as it's-
Amazing, bud.
Thank you all, I believe. I do appreciate that.
Our next order of business is the approval of two sets of meeting minutes. The first is January 23rd, 2025. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve, second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Very good. And the second set of minutes is the February 20th, 2025, and that was a special call meeting to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Very good. We have one agenda item for discussion tonight, and it is a public hearing, and it is 7750 Oslo Road rezoning. 7750 Oslo Road is the LLC. It's 7750 Oslo Road LLC's request to rezone approximately 3.73 acres from A1 Agricultural 1 District to CH Heavy Commercial District. Any declaration of ex parte communications on this? None. Would anybody who would like to speak on this stand and be sworn in, please?
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. Staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight's presentation will be made by Cindy Thurman, Senior Planner in the Long Range Division.
Good evening, Board. As was stated, this is a request for A1 Agricultural to CH Heavy Commercial. The area to be rezoned is 3.73 acres of the overall parcel, which is 17.31 acres. The parcel is located on the north side of Oslo Road, just east of the new I-95 Oslo Road interchange, approximately 2,000 feet west of 74th Avenue, southwest. This area of the county is characterized by a sparse mixture of agricultural, commercial, and industrial uses, with the Indian River County landfill to the south across Oslo Road. When you look at the zoning map, you can see here that the parcel contains split zoning of A1 and IL. The 3.73 acres identified for rezoning to CH is where the IL zoning boundary district ends and the A1 district boundary begins. The remaining A1 property will not be rezoned and will remain agricultural to serve as a holding zone. Here you can see by the future land use map that this property is located right in the middle of the red area, which is the commercial industrial node. The existing zoning, the A1 Agricultural District, is intended to provide for areas suitable for agricultural, tree farming, and the conservation and management of open space. It's also intended to provide for opportunities for residential uses at very low densities to provide alternate housing opportunities in the county, to permit activities which do not detrimentally impact lands devoted to rural and agricultural activities. If you look at the performance standards here, or development standards for the two different zoning classifications, the existing and the requested, you can see here the differences, mostly in the minimum open space required. CH, the requested heavy commercial proposed zoning, is intended to provide for establishments engaging in wholesale trade, major repair services, and restricted light manufacturing activities. Provides for support services necessary for the development of commercial and industrial uses allowed within other non-residential zoning districts. Rezoning request is consistent with the commercial industrial future land use designation. Again, that future land use node that sits in the middle of that big red. The commercial industrial future land use designation is intended to provide for areas for the development of industrial and commercial uses located in areas with suitable levels of service and infrastructure for urban scale development, located along major transportation routes and separated from residential areas. You saw there its location very close to the new Oslo and I-95 interchange. And there is no future land use amendment change as proposed as part of this request because the CH is consistent with the commercial industrial future land use designation. All rezoning requests have to be analyzed consistent with Chapter 902.12, subsection 3, items A through K. Item A, is it in conflict with any applicable portion of the land development regulation? Staff can identify no conflicts with the applicable land development regulations for the requested CH. In fact, potential buffering benefits from uses will be aided by this request. Item B, unfortunately, the locational criteria of policy 1.43 cannot be met by this request because there are no railroad tracks located in this location. However, we will point out that there are other higher intense industrial uses in this area, such as the landfill on the other side of Oslo Road. Item C, is it consistent with the existing proposed land uses? Proposed CH zoning is consistent with the existing. As I just mentioned, it is in the middle of the commercial industrial future land use node, and no future land use amendment change is proposed as part of this request. Is it in compliance with the adopted county thoroughfare plan? Yes, it meets this criteria as the property is between the 74th Avenue Southwest and the new I-95 Oslo interchange is in close proximity. Would it generate traffic which would decrease levels of service as adopted? We believe that all roadway segments within the area of influence would operate at acceptable levels of service under the proposed CH zoning. Item F, subject change conditions exist that warrant an amendment. Obviously, the acreage has been limited for the request to the north middle portion where the uses allowed within the CH district allow for this natural transition. Item G, would decrease levels of service establish your sanitary sewer, potable water, solid waste, drainage, and recreation decrease? And the applicant may be required to pay connection and customary fees, and more detailed concurrency review will be conducted during the development review process. And just remind everybody that this is a site that is currently existingly partially developed. As we look at the most highest intense use of the property, section 910.07 of the land development regulations, the size and area to be rezoned is just the 3.73, a small portion of the site. Most highest intense use under the existing zoning would only be 3 single family, but the most intense proposed, we're just looking at an increase of 74,600 square feet of general manufacturing. We're going to move on to item H, result in significant adverse impacts on the natural environment. The subject site at 3.73 acres is mostly undeveloped. A more detailed environmental analysis would be required when the subject site development is proposed and determined. Result in the orderly and logical development pattern. The proposed amendment does align with their comprehensive plan and the surrounding land uses. The conflict, item J, is it in conflict with the proposed public interest? Is it in harmony with the proposed interests of the land development regulations? Staff found no adverse impacts to public welfare and finds that the request aligns with the purpose and intent of the overall land development regulations. Item K, any other matters that may be deemed appropriate in review and consideration of the proposed amendment. such as police protection, fire protection, emergency medical services. It meets this criteria. All concurrency mandate facilities have adequate capacity to accommodate the most intense use under the proposed zoning district. So in conclusion, the requested CH zoning district is compatible with surrounding area, consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the county's adopted comprehensive plan. It is consistent with the county's land development regulations. Subject property is deemed suitable for the CH zoning. It can be supported by staff, and staff's recommendation is that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve this request to rezone the subject property from A1 to CH.
Thank you, Sydney. Any commissioner questions on the right? Mark?
Just a couple. Out of curiosity, why is this CH instead of IL?
I believe that the staff felt that it was more important to provide a better transition, so we wanted to take it a step down. Instead of CH, instead of IL, we went to the CH, so that the more intense uses would not be right up against the A1, the agricultural.
Okay, I was just looking at all the IL proximity or in the area. And the other thing, maybe this is premature, but since this appears to be under common ownership, and maybe that's a good thing, what would be the access egress of this property? I guess it wouldn't be landlocked if it had an
No,
agreement.
the property lines are not changing. Unfortunately, this property already has split zoning, and we're not changing that condition at all. There's no change in access at all.
Okay, now if it were to be sold, the access egress would require an agreement.
Nope, there's no change in the property lines or parcel configuration at all. This is just the zoning.
Well, how would they get out?
So, Mr. Mucher, this is an existing developed site. There's already a number of buildings on the property. The reason why they're actually rezoning this small sliver is the very north building that's on the site already is actually on an A1 zone property. So in order to clean this up and make sure there's no title or any type of issues down the road, they applied for a zoning district so that the use that they're going to be putting in this building will be allowed in that zoning category. Essentially, the buildings that are in there now, all of them are in IL except for this very north building. So it was considered a legal nonconforming use, but to make there be no qualms about it, the request to rezone this was so they can occupy all of the buildings and not have any questions arise. But the property is already developed, already has a driveway on Oslo Road. It's been used for a number of years now. They're not proposing at this time to change the driveway or add any other buildings. They may come back in the future, but right now, they want to just occupy the existing buildings that are there.
I think I only saw one in the aerial, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Chip?
Because I see this as kind of the first step in some transition. Why is the request not to go to CH instead of CG?
Because of the type of business that's going in there, CG would not actually allow for manufacturing welding. It's a business that creates telescoping towers, and what they do is welding and putting bits of metal together. So that was more conducive for the CH than it would be the CG zoning district.
But potentially would the CG zoning and the rest of the IL could all then request to go to the CH?
Potentially, they could. Right now, what they want to do is keep that zone that they have now. The IL gives them more flexibility if they wanted to put, more intense use in there. But the CH is sufficient for the type of business that they proposed.
I'm looking down the road as far as that goes, and that's my concern, because if there's CG, can they go up to CH and the rest of the IL go to CH, and as opposed to, it's a higher density than the CG.
Sure. In the county's planning department is currently studying this section of Oslo Road. We're going through the Oslo corridor study as directed by the Board of County Commissioners. We've had 4 workshops so far to solicit input from the public to gauge their interest in what they kind of want to see this area develop as that interchange opens in another year and a half. And we have 2 more workshops next week. But we're getting a kind of a good picture of what people want to see out there. And when we receive that feedback, we do a little bit more studying on transportation and what other types of uses we want to see grow around this interchange. We may see the need for more commercial industrial. We may see a more need for residential of a higher density. We're just in the beginning stages of examining this, and more is probably going to come out as far as what we're going to do with this section of Oslo and its close proximity to I-95.
And I appreciate what they're trying to do. I'm just concerned about down the road for other people looking to piggyback upon that, which may or may not be as conducive. I mean, it's a local company that I'm familiar with, and some of the people behind it, and I know they've had to go to a different county previously for some other things.
Sure, and we've had some interest in some properties around here, and we've sort of pushed a pause on any other types of rezoning requests in this area until that study is conducted, until we see what that study really fleshes out. We don't want to have parcels rezoned and then come back and the study shows it should have been something else. But this is an existing business relocating from the city of Vero Beach. We understand they may be applying for an economic development grant. The property is already developed with industrial-type buildings in there. So it didn't seem a stretch to allow the zoning to go through at this point in time, even though the study was going on. But other interests that we received, we've sort of been holding them off until we go through this process, because it seemed a little premature to bring that before this board until all the data has been collected.
Makes sense.
It makes sense that that's why we're only potentially looking at the 3.73 acres, not the entire parcel. We're keeping the A1 in place for what's non-conforming. And just essentially, that's what the operations are happening there right now. It's more the
Correct.
commercial happening.
And with A1 zoning being located north of this parcel, as Ms. Thurman pointed out, our comp plan requires sort of a transition between industrial and low-density agricultural properties, and that's why we stopped it at the midpoint, just to cover that building and not take the whole parcel. And it may be, after the study is done, there may be support for this parcel and the ones next to it to increase, but until that time comes, we wanted to do this in sort of an incremental step.
Good. Any commissioner questions on the left?
I've got one which might not necessarily pertain to this piece of property. 82nd Avenue right now, is that the road that's just, I guess, west of the commercial general property? The temporary?
Yes, it is.
Is it going to stay that way, or is it going to continue to go back to the old 82nd?
82nd is going to be rerouted.
Okay.
If it continued where it was now with the new off-ramp, your southbound
Right.
ramp from 95 onto Oslo, there'd be way too close of a
Correct.
junction point there and too much of a conflict.
So
So
it's
the
gonna stay on
road's
this
actually
route.
being rerouted to the east.
Okay, that's all I have.
Anything else on the left? Any other questions?
Scotty?
All right, this is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. If you wish to speak, come to either one of the podiums, state your name and your address, please. So we'll open the public hearing.
Good evening. My name is Len Shapiro. I'm with Indian River Land Development. I have the parcel that's just northeast to this particular rezoning. I was just curious about a couple questions, whether they had gone over it or not. Regarding sound levels, is it a 24-hour operation, or is it, has that been looked into, or where could I find out information about that?
We would like to bring the applicant's representative up to address any of the operational procedures of this particular company.
I'm sorry.
Should have been for us to discuss these here.
Oh, we could wait to see what the gentleman's additional questions may be, and then the applicant can address them, so it's not a back and forth.
Okay, yeah, yep.
Okay, so, I'd like to know whether it's an 8-hour operation out or a 24-hour, 7/24, or whatever, and what the DBA levels are at the boundaries. Also, is all the business, would you know, or with respect to the zoning, is everything that's being rezoned, is the manufacturing of whatever what this facility's doing, is it all inside this particular building, or are they using any outdoor land or surrounding the property, the building? And can they, within that zoning, situation.
Mr. Chairman, I believe this business has been operating in downtown Bureau on Old Dixie
Dixie,
and
correct.
16th?
Yes, that's
So
exactly
I would
right.
imagine if it's pretty nasty, you would know the city of Vero Beach would have been raising some issues about that, but those are good questions.
I'm sorry, could you tell me again the name of the name of the firm, or,
Illumina Tower, isn't
Yeah,
it?
Illumatower, yes.
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time, please?
A-L-U-M-A, Illuma,
A-L-U-M,
M-A, Tower?
Illuma?
Yes.
Okay, and so the answer to that question is, with respect to, I know they're building mobile towers, are those going to be situated outside of the property as well for delivery or some types of work, and what height are they?
I think the applicant will answer that question for you.
Okay.
Yeah, do you have any other questions, Mr. Shapiro?
No, that's it.
Okay,
Okay.
so anyone else want to speak? If not, we'll bring the applicant up to address Mr. Shapiro's questions.
Good evening. My name is Blaine Bergstresser with KMA Engineering and Surveying, representing the applicant for the property. First, before I get into this question, just take a little brief history of how we got here. So we've been working with staff on this parcel for a couple months now. As you notice, it's a parcel that has split zoning with A1 in the back and industrial light in the front. Per staff's request, we have first wanted to go in for an industrial light for the whole parcel, but we've worked with staff to create somewhat of a buffer between the A1s to the north. And that's where we ended up with the commercial heavy that just went, I think, about 20 feet north of the existing building. So as staff stated, the whole reasoning for this rezoning was for the potential tenant that we have signed up for the property. Going off those quick questions that the neighbor had, so this business would be a standard manufacturing business. There's no 24-hour shifts. It'd be an 8 to 12-hour shift, starting in the morning time. All manufacturing would occur inside of the building. Some of the towers probably would be staged outside, getting ready for delivery, but all noise and manufacturing would occur inside of the actual structure there. So I'm also here to answer any other questions you guys might have on the project.
Questions? Commissioners? On the right, commissioners on the left, any questions? Nope. Guess not.
All right, thank you.
Okay, yep. Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing. Any additional commissioner questions? No? Call for a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. Any commissioner matters? Nope. Any planning matters?
Not for this agenda tonight. We do thank your support for this business we think is going to be a real asset to the county. And I wanted to again say thank you, Mr. Lowther.
Thank you.
Okay. Any attorneys matters?
No, sir.
Excellent. We're adjourned.